Okay. All right, so on this review, guys, there's 3 things that you're going to have to know how to do. First, you're going to have to know how to graph a quadratic when you're given it in vertex form. Then you're going to have to write it, the equation, when you're given the graph. And then you're going to have to know how to convert it from standard or from vertex to standard form. Yes. Okay. So you'll have to catch up with this. Okay. All right. So on the first thing with graphing is you need to be able to study tonight is the equation, okay? Everyone should be able to remember this, okay? So y equals a parentheses h minus x minus h squared plus k. Go ahead and write that on the top of your page, please. All right. So Destiny, do you remember what the k does? What does the k make the quadratic formula, or the quadratic do? You had h. What does h do then?
It's opposite. You want to go left or right. If it goes left, then it was adding.
Okay. So h was left and right, and then the fact that it's a negative makes it opposite, right? Opposite. So I'm writing opposite there. It's hard to see because it's not enough room on this page right here, but that says OPP, opposite. So left and right and opposite for the h. All right, who can help me with the k? Would you say one? Up and down. Good. Up and down. Is k opposite? No, because it is adding. So it's not opposite. The negative is what makes this opposite because that's what that means. A negative is the opposite of a positive. Okay? And then the best way I think of A is kind of like your slope, okay? It's kind of like your slope. I'm going to put it in quotation marks because it's not really usually called that. We'll usually call it our stretch or our compression when we're talking about a quadratic. But when we think about it in comparison to a linear, it's the same general idea as slope, okay? All right, so does anybody remember what the numbers are that we multiply by for the A amount? Caitlin, do you happen to remember? Yep, 135, good. It's odd numbers. It keeps going from there. We can go to 7, 9, 11, 13, but it's just going to get to be too big at that point. And in fact, most of the time, we're only going to be graphing the 1 and the 3. Most of our graphs will not have room for the 5, okay? Okay, so if I like to start on the back and work my way forwards, like going backwards, because it's just easier that way. So the k from the origin, so you always start at 0, 0. I need to go up, and I'm going to draw myself an arrow right here, up 1. So I'm going to go up 1, and then this is -2. Usually negative means left, but because the formula is negative, that's going to mean right 2. So I draw myself an arrow, and I go right 2, and I put a dot right there. Okay? Now, the most important thing here, guys, is these light lines here, those are half lines. Don't count the half lines. You know, just make sure you're counting the whole lines. Okay. So, now, what number is the A right here? Let's see. Jason, what number is the A right here? 1. It's 1. So, A equals 1. Okay, that's really important, because that's the number we are timesing by. We're timesing by 1. You always times by A. So 1, 3, 5 are always what we times by, and then whatever A is the other thing we're multiplying by. Well, 1 is particularly easy because it's not going to change the 1, 3, or 5, okay? And if we think about this as a fraction, what number is under this 1 right here? 1. All the way down. So what this means is from this point on a quadratic, we're going to go up 1 over 1, just like slope, up 1 over 1. The only difference is in a quadratic is you have to do both sides, right? You can't just go one way. You also have to go backwards because it makes a U. So in addition to going up 1 over 1 this way, we go up 1 backwards 1 this way. So we did that one, and now we're going to go up 3 over 1. So up 1, 2, 3 over 1, up 1, 2, 3, backwards 1. Okay, we don't have room to go up 5. We rarely will. I don't know that we ever will, honestly. We don't ever make the graphs quite that big. But that is our quadratic. Okay, so on number 2, are we going to go up or down, Kayla, on number 2?
We're going to go down. You're going to go
Down 1, right? Because the graph, but also even if the graph wasn't drawn that way, even if it was a full graph, this K right here is negative, so we're going to go down 1.
First.
You would go which way? Left 2? Left 2, good. So you're going to go down 1 and left 2. So left 2 and down 1 right there. Okay, that's the point you're going to be at. All right, Sarah, what number is our A? What is our A here on this one?
1.
Say -1. Do you guys see it? It's a negative. So A equals -1. It's very important that you keep track of that. If it's negative, pay attention. Okay, what numbers do we always multiply by for a quadratic, Logan? What numbers do we multiply by? Sorry, you're thinking of the quadratic formula, aren't you? Yeah, that makes sense. One, we're going to multiply by -1, but then the parts that's correct. They're going to be multiplied by -1. 1, 3, and 5. Good. So we have 1 times -1 is -1. 3 times -1 is -3. 5 times -1 is -5. And once again, if we make these into a fraction, they're all over 1, right? They're all over 1, because when we talk about slope or compression and stretching on a quadratic, it's always, we're going to put it in a fraction form. So this is down 1 over 1. So make sure you're going down. Down 1 over 1. Down 1 backwards 1. And then this one is down 3 over 1. 1, 2, 3 over 1. 1, 2, 3 over 1. Whenever A is negative, it should be upside down, like this. Whenever A is negative, it should be upside down. So you should always double check that, because that's a common mistake. You should make sure that if it's a positive A, that it's going upwards as a U, and if it's a negative A, that it's pointing downwards. Okay? All right. Can I move this? Anybody need more time?
I thought we were supposed to put it in standard form.
Oh, yeah, you're right. We need to put it in standard form. Convert the function to standard form. Obviously, on the test, you want to read the entire directions so you get all the points, unlike what Ms. McMullen was just doing. So let's convert both of these to standard form. This is the part that, if you guys not here Wednesday, there's 2 of you that were not here Wednesday, you missed this, okay? So this is the part that you need to really pay close attention to, because this will be on the test tomorrow, okay? So let's look at number 1 first. To convert it to standard form, you need to rewrite it, okay? So y equals x minus 2 squared plus 1. I'm going to rewrite that. Okay. All right. So let's see. Cortez, what does squared mean? The 2, this part right here, but what does it mean? What does that mean mathematically? Multiply it by itself twice. Good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this, and in the parentheses I'm going to write it twice as multiplication instead of as a square. And then this part hasn't changed, so it's going to come straight down. Because this is what Cortez says, is this is what the square means. And so I convert it to what it means so that I can work with it. All right. When we have parentheses, Destiny, what do? We multiply every term times every term. So this term has to be multiplied by that term. What is x times x, Jaden? X squared is right. Good. X squared. X times x is x squared. That's something you should probably also study tonight, guys. A couple of little things I'll write off to the side, right over here for you guys. X times x equals x squared. You need to memorize that. If you don't know that, you need to memorize it. And 2 times x equals 2x. Okay? Those two things you need to memorize. If you don't know that, you need to memorize it. Okay? X times x is x squared, and then now this one has to go times the negative. Oh, what happened here? Come on, come back up. There it goes. Okay. So then the x times the negative 2 is negative 2x. Okay. And then this negative 2 times this x is negative 2x again. And then what's negative 2 times negative 2, Caitlin? It's going to be a positive 4, right? And then one thing you don't want to forget right here is this plus 1 goes on the end right here. Don't lose it, okay? And then make sure you don't lose that last number, because that's a common mistake as well. All right, so then what can we do next? Sebastian, do you know what we can combine here? Are there any more x squareds? No. Are there any more x's? Yes, so we're going to combine the x's. Okay. Are there any more constants besides the 4? Yes, so we're going to combine those. I'm going to put them in boxes and circles. That's how I like to keep them together. But you do them however it works for you. So y equals x squared, negative 2x plus negative 2x, as we're combining, we're adding, is negative 4x. 4 plus 1 is 5. So that's converting it to standard form right there. That's what we learned on Wednesday for those of you guys that were gone. Okay? Why would we convert it to standard form? What's the point? Why would you want it in standard form? Do you know, Kayla? What can you do in standard form? Oh, Logan, you were mentioning it earlier. When we talked about quadratics, what did you want to give me? What answer did you want to give me? You're going to say a times b, a times c, and yeah, factors that add up to b, right? That's factoring, right? And in order to factor, it has to be in standard form. So if you wanted to find a solution, you would need it to be in standard form. If you want to graph it, you need it in vertex form. So the whole point of putting it in the standard is because maybe you want to factor it, or maybe you want to use the quadratic formula. In order to do those things, you have to have it in standard form. Okay? Let's go ahead and look at number 2. So y equals negative, parentheses, x plus 2, and then squared minus 1. Okay. So once again, the negative here is going to be still there because it's not a part of the square. Okay, guys? The square is only the stuff that's in the parentheses. So just leave the negative alone right now, because the first thing we need to get rid of is the square. Okay? Because we have to get rid of the parentheses first. You think about PEMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. We have to get rid of the parentheses first. So we have to do whatever this is first. So we have x plus 2, and then this negative 1 we can't deal with quite yet because we have to deal with the parentheses first. So it just goes straight down. All right, so then at this point, we still have parentheses we need to get rid of. So we are not messing with this negative yet, and we're not messing with the negative 1 yet. We're going to deal with the parentheses first, okay? So y equals negative, it's still going to be in parentheses. Whatever is going to end up here is still going to be in parentheses, minus 1, okay? Because we have to get rid of this middle set of parentheses first. So we're going to take x times x, and that's x squared. We're going to take this x times that 2, and we're going to get positive 2x. We're going to get 2 times x and get positive 2x, and then 2 times 2 and get positive 4. The key thing when you're multiplying these is to make sure you multiply every term times every term. Don't skip anything. Destiny, can you get that? Yes. All right. Oh, she's got it. Okay. All right. So then now we still have parentheses we need to get rid of. How do we get rid of these parentheses, Jaden?
I have something.
Okay. Okay. So if you have, how do we get rid of these parentheses, Jaden? The same thing with what numbers out here? What's numbers on the outside right here? The negative 1. So we're going to take negative 1 times each piece. So negative 1 times x squared is negative 1x squared, which we can also just write that as negative x squared. We don't have to write the 1. But if you write the 1, that's fine. Negative times 1 times positive 2x is negative 2x. Negative 1 times positive 2x is negative 2x. And negative 1 times positive 4 is negative 4. And then don't forget this minus 1 right here. It didn't go anywhere. It's still there. So what can be combined, Huan, what can be combined?
2x.
The negative 2x and the negative 2x. Good. Is going to be, you add those together, you get negative 4x. And you have negative 4 and negative 1. You add those together, you get negative 5. Tell me when everybody's done writing. Anybody still writing?